Okay, good morning, everyone. Sorry again for the delay. We're up to Parak Vav Mishnah Aleph. Now, I'm going to read through the Mishnah and then we'll explain it. Shalosh Aratzis L'Shvius. There are three lands with respect to the laws of Shemitah. Kol Shechaziku Oilei Babel. Any land that was taken hold of by those who came up from Babel, which is my Eretz Yisrael Ba'ad Kaziv, from the land of Israel until a city called Kaziv. One may not be eaten and may not be worked. What's happening here is that, as we know, the land of Israel was conquered by Yehoshua, by Joshua. After the first Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, the Jewish people were exiled to Babylon. And then Ezra, the scribe, Ezra Sefer, brought the Jewish people back. Now, for the land of Israel to have its sanctity, in order for it to have all the unique laws that the land of Israel has, so it had to be conquered, which was done by Yehoshua when the Jewish people first entered the land of Israel. But that sanctity was suspended with the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash and the exile of the Jewish people. When Ezra came back a second time, that now brought the sanctity of the land of Israel back, so that the laws that relate to Israel, the rights according to Torah law, returned. It's just that the amount of land that Ezra came back and took was less than the original amount of land that Yehoshua had taken. So what comes out is that the biblical boundaries of the land of Israel for the laws of Shemitah from a Torah obligation point, where at one point the land area that applied to was larger, then it got smaller. At the same time, even when it got smaller, the Chachamim, the sages, instituted certain laws to the land that originally was Israel from the conquest of Yehoshua, even though it had not been taken back by Ezra when he returned. So now the Mishnah is giving us the boundaries of these three lands, of these three areas of the area around Israel, in order to be able to understand the different laws and where they apply. And if you all wonder why I just turned green, it's because the color of the screen turned green. But there's nothing wrong with me. Okay. Oh my. Okay. So the Mishnah begins. Kol shechaziku oilei Babel. So any area that those who ascended from Babel took, which is Me'eretz Yisrael Ba'ad Kaziv, from the land of Israel until a city called Kaziv, L'nech v'lo nevad. The fruit that is produced that comes out of that area cannot be eaten, as we mentioned, that there's a certain point of time that after the animals cannot forage for a certain type of food in the wilderness, so to speak. They can't forage for food where they are. That kind of food that you have in your possession, you're not allowed to eat until you're mavaved, until you take it out of the house and render it odorless. So that law will apply in this area. Nor can the land of this area be worked on during the time of Shemitah. Okay, so now to be able to try to explain this better, appreciate this better, I'm going to be like I'm going to be a real teacher. I'm going to pick up this copy. I'm going to pick up this copy of the article Mishna to be able to see a map of Israel, to be able to to better understand what's going on here. And I'm going to have to be able to figure this out looking at it from an opposite direction. Okay, so what we have here is, we're going to be following the explanation of the Rambam, of how he explains this, the Volagain, how he explains this. And what we have here is, we have the western boundary of the land of Israel. And the city that the Mishnah refers to as Kaziv is up here at the northwestern corner of Israel. That's Kaziv. Now, the Mishnah read from Eretz Yisrael until Kaziv is going to be the land that the Oilei Babel, those who came from Babel, took hold of. What does it mean from Eretz Yisrael? What's the southern tip of Eretz Yisrael? The explanation is the southern tip of Eretz Yisrael is here. It's called Ashkelon. That's the southern tip. So basically, we have the western boundary going along from this place, Ashkelon, going up to Kaziv, which is over here. So the Mishnah says that from Eretz Yisrael until Kaziv, that's the land that the people from Babel took, and that is where the full laws of Shemitah will take place, is basically we're talking about going from Ashkelon up to Kaziv, and now east of that is the land of Israel for these laws. How far that goes exactly, I mean, I'm assuming it's going to go. It doesn't. The commentaries don't exactly speak out where it goes until, but my assumption is it goes up until the Jordan River. Even though the Jordan River, goes up to the Jordan River. And if you look, it really comes out, and the Yad Avram points this out, that Kaziv and Ashkelon themselves were not part of Israel. It was a little bit above Ashkelon and a little bit below Kaziv, which does kind of work out along the Dead Sea up the Jordan River until the Sea of Galilee. But those are the boundaries. That you go from those western points east, that now is the land of Eretz Yisrael that has a Torah obligation for Shemitah. And as the Mishna says, that area, you cannot eat from the produce there if you didn't do beer, nor can you work the land. Then the Mishnah continues, V'chol shechaziku oile Mitzrayim, and any area that those who came up from Mitzrayim had taken hold of, referring to Joshua's conquest. So that goes Mikziv, from the city of Kaziv, V'ad Nahar, and until the river, V'ad Amana, and until Amana. Now, if we look back at this map, so they don't exactly have an area called Amana here, but you have Amana River. So, but Amana was higher than Kaziv, it was north of Kaziv, okay, which is probably going into modern day Lebanon. And then below Ashkelon, the river we refer to is what's called here, at least according to some commentaries, it was called Nahal Mitzrayim, the river, the brook of Egypt, which they call that Wadi El Arish, okay, which means that basically if you go from Kaziv up to Amana, and you go from Kaziv down to this area below, south, that is how far the conquest of Yoshua went. Okay, so when you go there to east, that's a greater area of land than what the land of the Baba conquered. And regarding that area of land, the Mishnah says, there the halacha is, Ne'achol avoloy nevad. The food there, you can eat it, even after beer. There's no obligation for beer there, and therefore you can eat it. But you can't work the land. The Chachamim said, we're going to institute some of the laws of Shemitah, but not all the laws. So the law of not working the land applies there, but the law of not being able to eat after beer, after the time of beer, that does not apply. The third area is what's called Min HaNohar, from the river, Ume'amana, from Amana, V'lifnim. This is a problematic word. It's translated as inwards, but it really means outside of that, beyond that. Ne'achol v'nevad, there you could eat, there you could work. That land doesn't have any kind of status of Eretz Yisrael for Shemitah. So if we're looking back at the map, so if this was the southern tip here of where Yeshua's conquest went, so anything below that is going to be anything below that is going to be considered not the land of Israel at all, and anything above Amman is not going to be the land of Israel at all. Now, there's one more part here that has to be pointed out, and that is just give me 1 second. Okay. Okay, let me read you here from the Yad Abraham. And he's going on the section of Kaziv, the area that the other Mitzrayim conquered, from Kaziv until the river until Amana. So they write like this: if a line is drawn from Amana through Kaziv and down until the river, the area west of this line, the coastal region, is outside the area sanctified by Ezra. It is this area that the Mishna refers to as from Kaziv to the river and until Amana. This strip of land along the coast was consecrated only by those ascending from Egypt and not by those from Babylon. So what that means is that when we look back at this picture and we, as it says, we draw a line from Amana through Kaziv down until the river. If you draw a line from up here through Kaziv and down until the river, what really happens is that you have that area, that coastline is the area that was the difference between the conquest of Yeshua and the conquest of the Oil Bubble. It's that strip of land that's the difference. Because when you're going, east of these parts, the question is which part exactly is there a difference along this coast between what those who came from Egypt, those who came from Babylon did. Basically, when you draw a line, that is where you have this strip along the coast that the Oile Mitzrayim had conquered, the Oile Babel did not conquer, and it's that area where we say that there is going to be this differentiation that the Rabbanan say you can't work the land, but eating the produce after beer, you may do so. Okay, let's go to the Sefer HaMitzvot. Mitzvah Haselite LaKohen Reishis Hagez. Positive commandment to give a Kohen the first of the wool. Shenemar, the pasuk says, Reishis Geitzein Chatif Hinlai. The first of the fleece of your sheep you shall give to him. You're shearing your sheep. A certain amount of the fleece, the first of the fleece has to go to the Kohen. The Shiura Midivrei Seifrim. So in the Torah, there's no amount. Any little amount works. But the Chachamim instituted, the Tzeish instituted Ech Mishishim 1/60th of it. And a Chayav Bazeh, when it only becomes obligated in this, El Kvasid, only for sheep. Ushio Chamesh Tzayin, you have to have 5 sheep that you're shearing. The Yabagiza Shalahem Lepachas Mimishkal Kol Echad Shnei Matzar Slayim. And you cannot have, and the fleece has to come to a amount that is not less than the weight of 12 slayim. 12 slayim was a certain kind of coinage in the times of the Torah, and we kind of measure these slayim, these coins by weight, and we say that each one of the sheep, of the 5 sheep that you're shearing, has to have enough wool that it would be at least the weight of 12 slayim. Shemena Kol Mishkal Shishim Slayim, so that the total amongst all 5 is 60 slayim. But if you have less than that, you have less than 12 per sheep, or it's less than 5 of them being sheared, there is no obligation to give the first of the shearings to the Kohen. And all the laws that applied yesterday about the gifts from the animal itself, the foreleg, the cheeks, and the maw, whatever we said there applies regarding the first of the shearings also, which was that nowadays, meaning outside of Eretz Yisrael, this does not apply. But inside Eretz Yisrael, you do have those. Inside Eretz Yisrael would apply, and even outside of Eretz Yisrael, you have certain individuals who are meticulous performance of mitzvahs that still perform it. Have a great day and a wonderful Shabbos.